What's up, guys?
Today we're going to get into some of the more famous Southern contractions, things what we would probably naturally say if we're speaking to friends around here. So let's get into it.
Today we're going to get into some of our own accent from where we live. By the way, we have scrubbed up quite a bit to do YouTube and to teach English. We tend to float more to one of the general American accents, but if we're speaking to people around here, we can definitely slip back into our Southern accent.
This is a pronunciation check in a way to try to make you sound more natural if you're in this area.
If you go to work in Atlanta or in Dallas or something like this, these will be far more helpful to living in the area. We have a very strong accent down here in the American South, and there's a range of accents as well. Disclaimer, real quick, the Southern accent is actually broken up into many different dialects and accents. Every state, every part of every state in the South has its own accent going on. These are some general ones to just canvas over a lot of different accents, but it's by far nowhere near what you would get. Something to just keep in mind as you listen to these.
For example, a really famous one that is spoken all across the South is y'all, meaning you all.
Which is so much easier because your, right, can be plural or singular. So we fix it by saying you all or y'all. Other people that are trying to make it a very clear distinction who they're talking about, singular or plural, they'll say you guys. Or in some places, as a joke, use guys. But that's not Southern. We just say y'all.
Sometimes when we want to emphasize the fact if it's a big group and we're talking to each and every single one in the group, we wouldn't say everyone, we would say all y'all get out of here.
Or all of y'all. All of y'all get out of here. All of y'all are welcome. Get everybody eat. You know, we would say all of y'all. Another one that is really common to the South is ain't. It just feels bad in my mouth. This is not one that I use particularly, but it's definitely all over the place.
And it's hilarious too because it's a contraction between are and not combined together to make ain't.
It should be aren't,
but we love saying ain't.
Yeah, so you ain't getting away with it.
That ain't happening.
Notice that we chop off our G in our ing words as well. As soon as we start speaking a little bit of Southern, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
There is going to be a plethora of double contractions and triple contractions actually with these two forms here. Like y'all are. Yep. Y'all are gonna get here soon, right?
Or y'all are crazy.
Really common.
But even though our pronunciation may not be spot on as far as like proper spoken English is, our grammar in this one is actually correct when we say y'all are crazy, meaning that we're speaking to a multiple group, so we have subject-verb agreement, so in that way, we're spot on.
Y'all ain't all that bad.
Y'all
ain't, and then put them together. Y'all ain't.
Y'all ain't going, right?
You ain't. You ain't is another one. You ain't all that bad, so you ain't all that bad. Again, these are not two that I use, but I hear them all the time. You all would have. We also smash that into a contraction. Y'all'd have been here by now.
Wow.
You all would have been. Y'all'd have been here by now. You all would have. You all would have. Just four, because Ben stands alone. Y'all'd have been here by now if you'd have left on time.
That is a triple contraction that she just said. Another one is where you at?
Or yeah. Some people just say yet.
Where you at? Where's he at?
Where's he at? You ain't big enough for dat yet. For becomes fur, and then that becomes dat sometimes. So for dat. Those are two separate words. For dat. We finished those, but yeah. You ain't big enough for dat yet. How many times have we heard that said to like our kids? Quite a few times.
We also contract one. So instead of saying this one, we'll say this'n or that'n.
Yeah. This'n, that'n. Which one do you want? This'n. I don't understand contracting one, but we do that. I don't know why.
Because one is hard to say. Is easy to say. So a question we got a lot when we were traveling in China is, have you eaten yet?
Right.
In Chinese.
In the South, we will say, did you eat yet? But we'll actually say, do you eat yet?
Do you eat yet?
Do you get something to eat yet?
So
do you eat yet? Because
we're very concerned. We don't want people coming over to our houses and they're hungry. And so if they come to our house, one of the first questions we ask them is, do you eat yet? We can make something for you.
Or just grab it out of the fridge. Just make yourself at home. So, do you eat yet? Another one that we do here in the South is couldn't. And so, couldn't have was one that we did before, and that's a more general American double contraction, but couldn't. We try and have into at the end of this one. So I couldn't have done it better myself.
So there you go, guys. This is a short list for you guys to mainly just practice trying something different with your voice, or if you work and live in the South, you might hear these more commonly and you might scratch your head thinking, why do these people say this like that?
It's just the way we speak. It's our accent down here. One of the many accents. Again, these are things that are common across several Southern accents, but it's not all of them by far. There's way too many to really get into. Accents are very interesting and they're an interesting part of America. But with growing opportunities in the American South for business and international work, you should definitely pick up some of these if you plan to move to the Atlanta, Georgia area, the Dallas, Texas area, Birmingham, Richmond, any of these places like this. These are things you might hear on a daily basis outside of the workplace.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.
Bye.
You ain't the best basketball player.
Oh dear, YouTube, what will you think of us?